Welcome back to another edition of the Interlake Sports Now. I'm Josh Dugan, and thank you, as always, for taking the time to check out the show. We have a lot to get to on this week's show. We'll start out with some headlines, including the announcement that the Brock Osweiler and Flathead Braves football camp is coming back this summer. And we had an area athlete who announced their commitment to MSU-Northern as a two-sport athlete. You don't see that every day in this era of college sports. So we'll definitely get to that. Then we'll roll through a quick spring sports update and dive into the college sports action, starting with some track and field news where a Whitefish Product landed Big Sky Player of the Week for the Griz. After that, we'll round things out with some college football talk because a pair of Montana State football products and a former Griz star earned minicamp invites with NFL teams. Plus, the Bobcats shook things up on the coaching staff. So we're into all that fun stuff. Speaking of football, just briefly mentioned it. It isn't that quite that time of year yet. We're talking Montana high school football, but we're going to jump ahead a little bit here because we have some exciting local prep football news. As former Flathead Braves legend and Super Bowl winning quarterback Brock Osweiler is once again linking up with his alma mater to come back and help coach at the Flathead Braves football camp at Legend Stadium. The first Brock Osweiler football camp was last summer. That was last July. I had the opportunity to go out there and cover that one. Ton of fun. A lot of great opportunities for kids to learn hands-on from a great coaching staff and a guy with the NFL caliber, Super Bowl winning caliber like Osweiler. Very cool experience, one of a kind of thing. Had the chance to interview him and speak with Flathead Braves football coach Caleb Allen at the event, and just overall great opportunity for young athletes to get out there, good for the community, one of those things. So this year the camp will take place July 20th at Legend Stadium. The day starts with a quarterback, receivers, and tight ends throwing session for high school athletes from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. at Legend Stadium. Then a youth camp for players in grades 3 through 8 will run from 10:30 a.m. through noon. Osweiler was a standout basketball and football player at Flathead from 2006 through 2008, who then played quarterback at ASU, Arizona State University, ahead of a 7-year NFL career with the Broncos, Miami Dolphins, and Houston Texans. He retired in 2019. So kudos to Osweiler and the Flathead Braves football program for putting that on. Very special event for local football athletes, young up-and-comers, high school kids, whatever it may be. Just a cool event. One other local headline to get to before we move into our spring sports update, some local college recruiting news. Before I get into this one, I got to say, I'm all for prep athletes participating in multiple sports for a variety of reasons. Helps make you a better athlete, competitor, whatever it may be. Today's era, you don't always see that. A lot of coaches recommend kids commit to one sport. So this one really stood out as a unique one where Browning's Maurice Redhorn III announced his commitment to MSU-Northern. As a two-sport athlete participating in basketball and rodeo, Redhorn led Browning's basketball team in scoring each of the last 2 years and is a two-time Northwest ACO MVP. He was also a state qualifier in rodeo. Just an awesome story. If I had to bet, there's not many athletes who are competing in rodeo and basketball at the collegiate level. So major respect to Redhorn as a competitor for taking on the challenge of making those two sports coexist. Would be really cool to see how many athletes have ever participated in rodeo and basketball at the college level, because it has to be a short list. If there is any, just one of those sports you don't see coexist very often. Very physical, rough sport, rodeo, basketball, a little more finesse, athleticism, explosiveness. They definitely have skills that can coexist in both, but you just don't see it very often. So kudos to Redhorn and congrats on the commitment to compete at the next level. So let's get into a quick spring sports update where had one piece, we got a piece of news to get to. Usually it's recaps, but this is a little different. Some exciting prep baseball news because the Glacier Range Riders and Glacier Bank Park will be hosting this year's Sapa John Rood Invitational Baseball Tournament running this Friday and Saturday. Columbia Falls, Whitefish, Polson, Big Fork, Ronan, Eureka, Browning, Troy, and Knoxon, Thompson Falls, little combo school there. They're among the teams that will compete this weekend. The Sapa John's Rood Invitational began in 1985 following the tragic loss of Glacier Twins American Legion players Ray Johns Rood and Jim Sapa in a car versus train accident in Columbia Falls. The tournament includes a late Saturday, 8:30 p.m. game between Whitefish and Columbia Falls that, because of a rainout earlier this season, will count in the conference standings and impact next week's State A playing games. Overall, just a very cool experience for the Valley's prep baseball scene. One of those one kind of like the Osweiler camp I just mentioned, another one of a kind opportunity for athletes to get out there and compete in such a amazing ballpark, Glacier Bank Park, one of the nicest baseball minor league stadiums you will go to. So those athletes will have a very cool experience. And hey, if you're a local baseball fan in Northwest Montana, you can't really wait for the Range Riders and the Pioneer League to start up. get out to the ballpark, catch some action. They're going to have food, all that fun stuff. So just overall, very cool experience. Got to love that the Range Riders, Glacier Bank Park, and the high school baseball scene were able to make that happen for the kids, the community, the coaches, all of it. Just a very cool thing. All right, moving along in the spring sports update to the softball field, where the Glacier softball team continues to roll at the plate. The Wolfpack slugged 11 home runs across 3 wins last week to bring their home run total as a team to 37 on the year. Candy Godet and Olivia Warner played a big role in the home run barrage, with Godet hitting 4 home runs across the 3 games and Warner hitting 3 big flies of her own. With the wins, the defending state champs moved to 15-2 overall in the season and 10-2 in Western AA play. All right, moving on to the college action. We have some more college track and field news. The last couple of weeks, we keep having these college track and field headlines where former Valley stars have been making some noise, and the trend continues as Whitefish Product Aaron Wild set a new Griz record for women's high jump with a mark of 5 feet and 10.5 inches Saturday. The record had stood since 1994 when Kathy Schwen set the mark at 5 feet and 10.5 inches. Or excuse me. Yeah. Anyways, Wild's big day earned. I might have gotten that second part wrong, but the point being is Wild broke the record. Her big day earned her the Big Sky Field Athlete of the Week. So major kudos to Wild on the Big Sky honor and for shattering the Grizzly high jump record. Always great to see a former Bulldog and Valley product making their mark at the next level. Moving along to the Bobcats football team, where they shook some things up on the coaching staff, where new offensive coordinator Tyler Walker, he's going to be giving up his duties as tight ends coach. He was originally slated to be the OC and tight ends coach. Well, he's going to be taking on a role as the quarterbacks coach. Earlier this offseason, the Bobcats brought in former Utah State standout QB Chucky Keaton to take over as the quarterbacks coach, but Keaton left to pursue other opportunities. So Walker will be sliding over to quarterbacks coach. Head coach Brent Vigen had this to say about the move. Tyler has worked with the quarterbacks to a degree for the last 4 months and has built relationships, Vigen said. So this is a natural move. The first time around when Walker was named offensive coordinator, there was plenty of time to integrate a new quarterbacks coach into the program. Tyler's worked with that group in the timeline we're working with and knowing Jordan, who will be coming as the new tight ends coach. We didn't get to that yet. Jordan Walsh and his experience. This is the best move right now. Taking Walker's spot as tight ends coach, like I just mentioned, will be a newly hired Jordan Walsh, who previously coached at Eastern Washington, Missouri State, and in 2020 was on the same coaching staff as Brent Vigen with Wyoming. So there is some familiarity between Walsh and the Bobcats staff. So very interested to see how the Bobcats offense looks next year without former offensive coordinator Taylor Housewright calling the shots. Although the Bobcats fan base, they didn't always love Housewright's decision-making in key moments, there's no denying that offense was, when it was clicking, was a high-powered machine that was one of the best in the country. Their rushing attack was nearly unstoppable at times. So we'll see how it looks under some new leadership on the sidelines running the offense with Walker running the show. Moving along, but staying on topic as far as Montana State football goes, because for the second week in a row, we have some NFL news to get to. Former Montana State quarterback Sean Chambers landed an invite to an NFL minicamp last week as the Carolina Panthers will give the former Bobcat playmaker a chance to prove himself at the pro level. Chambers finished with the second most rushing touchdowns in Bobcats history, and Chambers landed on the FCS All-American teams in 2022 and 2023. Just one of those players, unreal athleticism at the quarterback position, and I could definitely see him landing as a backup or a scout team kind of guy at quarterback if he gets the opportunity to prove himself. One thing that is worth mentioning, though, Chambers, with his size and speed, 6'3", 221-pound frame, great speed. He's the kind of guy who could maybe transition to a tight end type of position, get the football in that guy's hands. He could be a playmaker. So don't be surprised if the Panthers kind of get creative, or a team who will take a chance on the Kerman, California native, because he's a dynamic player. Give him a few handoffs, work him in the passing game. Could definitely see it happen. And that being said, he does have the raw talent to land as a quarterback at the next level. One of my favorite players to cover the last few years. One of those guys who every time he touches the football, he's a threat to score and make a big play. So I'll definitely be rooting for Chambers at the pro level. Very interested to see what his future holds, because he has a rare skill set and he has some real next level talent that would translate to the modern NFL. All right. Also landing a minicamp invite was former Bobcat wideout Cleveland Thomas, who will be participating in the camp with the Cleveland Browns. The Miami, Florida product and former Kentucky Wildcat transfer led the Bobcats in receptions in 2023 with 26 catches and was second on the team with 4 receiving touchdowns. So the Bobcats offense, very run-centric the last few years. Guys like Chambers, Cleveland Thomas, They didn't get that many opportunities to flash their skills in the passing game. So maybe with some more chances at the NFL level, a little more spread out offense, we'll see Thomas and Chambers take their games to the next level and potentially catch on with NFL teams. Definitely keep you updated there if we see any more headlines regarding those former Bobcat players or any of the guys we mentioned last week, Trayton Pickering, now Vouch or the Griz. A couple guys landed with those minicamp invites. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on those. But one last mini camp invite to get to, and this is one a lot of Griz and Big Sky football fans were expecting, and that's Alex Gubner receiving a mini camp invite from the Denver Broncos. So this news broke yesterday, and felt inevitable that the reigning Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year, Gubner, was gonna earn a mini camp invite. We just didn't know where. The guy was an absolute force in the middle for the Grizzlies defense. That was one of the best in the FCS last year. One of those guys who wreaked havoc on opposing quarterbacks and offensive linemen, opposing ball carriers. Just always causing problems in the backfield. And one of those players whose numbers don't really do him justice. Gubner had nice numbers, 3 sacks, 9.5 tackles for loss, and 45 tackles from the interior lineman position. That being said, he outplayed those numbers. One of those guys who every single play impacted the game with his ability to wreak havoc in the backfield and put pressure on opposing offenses. So Gubner would not be shocked at all to see an NFL team take a chance on him. One of those guys could definitely play his way onto an NFL roster, whether it's Denver or elsewhere. So that all being said, that is going to be it for this week's Interleague Sports Now. Thank you as always for taking the time to check out the show. I'm Josh Dugan, and I'm out.